you've been following my channel, then you know Mr. Yoshi here. We purchased Yoshi at a livestock auction probably about 8 months ago. When we got him, we did not know much about him at all. And it turns out he had a lot of problems with his health. We learned that he's blind in one eye. He's blind here on the left eye. He has uveitis. Look at them. You are gonna suffocate in there. Smeagol. Anyway, so all that being said, Yoshi has just been here to recuperate and get better. I do think every horse needs some level of understanding when it comes to groundwork. Yoshi's not the typical horse I work with. He's very calm and quiet, and he's not distracted by everything going on. He's blind, so that's a whole other thing I need to figure out. So we're just gonna get started and see where it goes and see if we need to redirect or if there's anything specific we need to start working on. I guess where I'm gonna start is just seeing how he kind of responds to certain pressures and seeing if he understands pressure. I'm gonna just start with back up, and I'm gonna just kind of wave my rope and see if I can get him. He's not gonna back up. There, good boy. I'm really just seeing what he knows about pressure, and if he's willing to step off of that, good boy. And backing up is a good place to start, I think, because it's very easy to start establishing your own boundaries and personal space and things like that. And so what I'm doing here is I'm starting with a light shake, and if he doesn't back up, I increase. Good. So you understand that. Getting your horse to back up to me is like a very easy way to explain a concept to the horse because it has a very definitive action. Back up. Good boy. In terms of, you know, the horse steps back and the pressure gets released. So it's a very easy place to start with introducing them to a concept of, number one, pressure and release. Number two, respecting boundaries. Good boy. And another thing I can do is just take my hand and gently press on his nose and see if he'll go back. Good boy. Let's get 2 steps. 1, 2. Good boy. And so since he knows this and he does it and he responds to the pressure, part of me feels like he has had training. At the auction we got him at, they did say he drove a wagon. So this to me kind of indicates that, because a horse that's never had pressure on their face, when I go to do that, they would probably flip their head back up like that. So it is kind of giving me a good place and understanding of like, okay, he may have had this work done with him. Let's see if he can move his hindquarters. Good, and he moves his hindquarters away. Good, so he swings his hind end. If you'll see, he'll step around. Let's get over here. When I apply, good boy. And that's another basic, like, personal space thing you can do. A lot of power comes from the hind end with horses. So if I can control that hind end and get it to step away from me, that's putting you at a good place. Good boy. I'm gonna see if I can just bring his head and have him yield to that pressure. He wants to step his hind end away, but I just want him to bring his head kind of back towards his shoulder and hold it. Good boy. If he could just dip his nose, good. I don't know if y'all saw that. It was the slightest little movement, but when I pulled his head over and I held it, you kind of saw him go like that. And that was him giving to that pressure. I'm gonna try another exercise just to see if I can get more of a give to the pressure so that I can release and reward so that he understands that, because all he's doing is when I put on pressure, he will just sit there and relax instead of thinking to give to the pressure, which is so unique. I've never ever dealt with that. So I'm just trying to get a give so that I can start explaining, you know, a release to pressure. So I'm gonna ask him to bring his head down. And he wants to step forward, so I'm gonna hold it. No, no. Just bring it down. So there he's fighting. I'm gonna keep holding. This is so unique. Good boy, good. I don't know if y'all saw that, but it was obvious, like, he brought his head down towards the pressure. And so horses learn by pressure and release, and they learn how to respond to something correctly by the release of pressure. So when I apply the pressure, I'm looking for a certain response, and when they do that, they get the release of pressure. This is also important for horses to know for safety reasons, like if he got his head caught in the fence or a leg caught in the fence, if they know how to yield to that pressure, they'll be less likely to struggle and fight it and more willing to stand there and wait. So I'm gonna try that again. Ready, Yosh? Gonna hold. Good boy. Good, very smart. Now that I have that big release down to where he will give, I'm going to try bringing his head to the side again and seeing if I can get a little bit more, because he was not doing it there. He was kind of just holding it. So, and he wants to escape by walking like that. So I'm just gonna hold it and stay by his shoulder. If you have steering problems with your horse, this may be one of those things that applies. So he just doesn't want to give. And if your horse doesn't want to give to this pressure, it will be harder to steer them and have them go in the direction you want. So what I'm gonna do, since I did get him to respond to the pressure going down, good boy, I'm gonna use that same concept but bring his head more to the side and start here. So I'm gonna ask for it here, good boy. And then we're just gonna work like this until we can get like a, good. Until we can get like a bend in the neck. Good. So since he's more willing to give his head down, I'm kind of using that understanding for him and asking him to give downwards, but also bring his head to the side. So, good. That was better. So I'm pulling down to the side. Good boy. Now that I've kind of evaluated Yoshi and seen where he's at with his understanding to pressure, now I just kind of want to get him moving. One area I know we can work on a little bit is his confidence. I think with just not being able to see out of one eye, he's very cautious and slow moving. And so I think if I can help give him confidence with leading, for example, he walks very slow when you lead him, and he likes to walk behind you, but it's solely so he can see where you are. So my goal is to get him kind of moving more forward and more confident. But before we get started on this, if you're new here and you're thinking, well, he's a miniature pony, what you're doing with him doesn't apply to a horse. It does. All of this will apply to a horse. You can use it on your riding horse, you can use it on a young horse. All of these exercises are great starters for groundwork. Now, not every horse needs a back prop, but I'm using one, like I said, because Yoshi can't see, so I'm thinking the sound will be beneficial. And also, he's a bit lazy, so I'm gonna desensitize and I doubt he's gonna really care, just knowing him, but I'm gonna let him see it first. This is his good side, so he can see out of the side. And do this side. Hear that? Good boy. This is his good side, so I'm leading on his good side where he can see me. And I just want him to stay up with me, and I want to be on a loose lead. I don't want to have to be dragging him. So immediately, he doesn't want to start with me. So, come on. Good boy. And until he gets on the loose lead, I'm going to use my crop to encourage him. So now he's on a loose lead, so that's much better. He's like, Mom, I have little legs. You're making me walk fast. So he's doing pretty good. I'm gonna see if we can, and he's responding to the pressure. Come on, good. Go, Yosh, go. Oh boy. Now I'm gonna try the blind side. So anytime I have to lead him on this side, he's a lot more like, no, and he'll run into you, which is no fault of his own, he can't see. But this is the side where he kind of wants to get behind you. Yeah. So what I'm gonna do as I'm walking is just use my crop to encourage him. And I've also been thinking, like, maybe I'll lay my hand just against his neck when I'm leading on this side, just so he knows where I am, because I feel like that's why he's not confident over here, because he is trying to be respectful and not run into me, but just doesn't know where I am. So right now I have my hand on his neck, and we're just gonna walk. And I want him to stay up with my speed, but I will leave my hand here. See, watch what he does when I take my hand away. So I'm not touching him now. See how he slows down and he gets behind me? It's because he wants to see where I'm at. That's all he wants to do. That went really well, and I do think just in that 5 minutes of doing that, we were able to easily boost his confidence with leading. He just felt like he was much more willing to go forward and not dragging his feet so much when I let him know where I was. So now with using the bag, one thing I do want to work on is just encouraging him to step forward and around me. My ultimate goal is to be able to lunge him. It would have to be on a very flat surface, I think, just because he can't see that well. But because he does need exercise, I think exercise would be great for him, just building muscle. And so my ultimate goal is to be able to lunge him. I'm not going to lunge him today, but I'm gonna get started in that direction. These next two exercises are great if you're trying to teach a horse to lunge and to go out and away from you. So what I'm gonna do, I'm on Yoshi's side that he can see, and we're gonna start on the side. All I'm gonna do is ask him to step his front end away from me, like directly to where he's stepping one leg over the other. And so he's kind of having to do a right angle. And so you see there, he's actually pretty good at that. Good. I'm just gonna work on that. He knows that really well. I am kind of laying my hand on him to help him. Good. Now I'm gonna ask him to step his front over, but then I'm gonna encourage him with my bag to take a step forward out of that, like once he has stepped away. And this is just to teach the horse to be able to walk forward and around you. So I'm gonna go like that, and then, good boy. Good boy. All right. Yep. Good. Good. Come on. This may not work at all, but I am gonna try his blind side. Push out, step away. He's like, where are you, Mom? I can tell. I've never worked with a blind horse, so I'm like, do you lunge them on both sides? Let's just get a step at least. If we're not lunging, I want to step forward. Good. I'm just gonna give a slight tap on his little butt, just so he knows what I'm asking. I'm not like smacking him hard. Go on. One step, good boy. So since he can't see, I do think like that contact does help him out with what I'm asking him to do, is to go forward. Good boy, go on. This rope is really, really short, so come on. Good boy. I think today I was able to get a really good understanding of where Yoshi's at and kind of his comfort level. And so now I know going forward what I can work on. Like I said before, my goal is not for him to be doing a bunch of work and knowing every groundwork technique and getting worked every day. But I do want him to have a basic understanding so that, you know, in situations when it needs to be done, he understands. All of the exercises I did today are great for teaching your horse groundwork and also getting started yourself. They're very basic and very simple, but they do have a big impact. So if you want more of an in-depth look and a step-by-step guide on how to do them and what you're looking for from your horse, I have an online course that walks you through all of that. And so I'll put the link in the description, or you can go to shop.equinehelper.com, and it's how to gain and maintain your horse's respect through groundwork.